Alright guys, so I decided to add on a little bonus here. I want to actually make the contact form on our website work. Now that we're actually deployed and our shared host has PHP installed, which is a programming language, so we can execute PHP files, and PHP has a very simple mail function that we can use to actually make this form work. So what I'm going to do is have it submit to my brad@edgeledger.net email, which you can see my inbox right here. Now in the lecture files for this section, or this lecture I should say, you're going to have a zip file called contact, and inside that you're going to have two files. And I have that right here. So you're going to have process.php and success.html. So we're just going to move those two files to our project, to our website locally. And I'm going to go back into VSCode with those two added files. And in our index file, we have our form, which doesn't have any attributes. So in order for the form to submit, we want to put an action, and we want it to submit to process.php. It's going to submit to that PHP file. And then we also want to add a method. There's different types of HTTP methods. We have a GET request, which is basically just when the page loads, it's a GET request. But when you submit a form, you want to make a POST request to the server. Okay, so we want to do method POST. And we'll save that, and what that's going to do is it's going to submit to this process.php file, which is a very, very simple script. I actually got it from the InMotion hosting documentation. It's very, very simple. You probably want to add more validation and so on if you were gonna, if this was a production site, but I just want to make it work. So I'm just going to go through it, and I know a lot of you probably don't know PHP, but it's just checking to see if the email field is filled in. This post email pertains to our form input right here because the name is email. All right, so this is actually called a super global, and it's looking for the name attribute of email. So if that's filled in, it's going to proceed, and it's going to create some variables. Okay, this variable is the email that we want to submit to, so you would change this to yours, and then we have the rest of these variables just pointing to whatever text is filled in the form fields. So for the name, email, phone, and message, those will get put into variables, which are like placeholders. Then we're going to run a function called mail, which is a PHP function. The first parameter is the email that it's going to send to, which is our admin email here. And then the second is the subject of the email, which will be new form submission. Of course, you can change it if you want. And then the body is going to be the message and the phone number. That's what's going to be in the actual email body. And then from is going to be whatever the user puts in as their email. And then once all that happens, once it sends, we're going to redirect using the header function. So this will redirect us to a file called success.html, which I have right here. So if we look at success HTML, it's very simple. We just have the nav bar minus the links and the footer, and then here we just have a thank you message. So I can show you this real quick if I just open with live server. Actually, it opened on the wrong screen. Hold on. Let me just bring it over real quick. All right, so this is what it's going to look like once you submit the form. It's just going to say thank you, and then you can choose to go back to the site. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now there's one other thing we need to change, and it's actually in our JavaScript file, the main.js. Now right here, we're grabbing on to a click event for the navbar links for the smooth scrolling, as well as the class of button. Now the class of button is also on the submit button here. Okay, and inside the JavaScript, what we're saying is to prevent the default behavior of the form, or the button, I should say. And since we have that class on our form button, it won't submit correctly. So what I'm going to do is just get rid of the .btn and the comma. That way the smooth scrolling is only on the nav bar, and the form should be able to submit. So let's save that. And now our website should be all set. We just want to open up FileZilla, go ahead and log in, and we're just going to basically replace the files that are there. So I'm going to drag all of these over. If it asks to overwrite, just say yes. And now it should work. So let's head over to edgeledger.net or whatever whatever website you're using if you're following along. And I'm going to just reload. and then fill this out real quick. So I'll say John Doe, email. Let's do John Doe at Gmail. We'll put in a number here, just all 5s. And then a message, we'll just say hello world. All right, so now I'm going to click send. Now what happened is it submitted to the process.php file. It ran that, called the mail function, so it should have sent, and then redirected us to success.html. And we can go back if we want. Now I'm going to go to my inbox and I'm going to reload. And we have an email from john@gmail.com. And you can see the subject is new form submission because that's what we put in the process PHP file. And the body here is whatever we put in the message field and whatever we put in the phone field. Okay, so we now have a working contact form. And I know that PHP is not part of this course, but I wanted to at least have this be a full website where the form actually worked. Okay, so hopefully you guys can appreciate that, and that's it. I'll see you in the next section.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer.